Meghan Markle thought her luxury holiday promo would redefine Christmas elegance. But one single, awkward detail caused the entire campaign to collapse instantly. The beige stockings. Voice. Within hours, the internet didn't see luxury. They saw, and I quote, "a pair of socks someone just took off." The visual was so lifeless, it sparked a viral debate that Meghan never intended. But this isn't just about bad decor. It exposed a brutal truth about the silent war between the Sussexes and the Waleses. One is offering warmth, the other is selling emptiness. Welcome to the Christmas contrast. Let's dissect the story the cameras weren't supposed to tell. Snow hadn't even begun to fall in the UK when the first images drifted across social feeds. Soft lights, warm reds, subtle golds, and that unmistakable promise of something magical stirring inside Westminster Abbey. According to accounts from royal watchers, Princess Catherine wasn't simply preparing another holiday event. She was setting the tone of the season. A feeling the public subconsciously waits for every December. Color, warmth, unity. A Christmas energy that seemed lived in, not curated. Then, almost on the opposite emotional spectrum, Meghan Markle posted her holiday promo. No crowds, no laughter, no children peeking at lights, no red ribbons or twinkling garlands. As some described it, the visuals looked muted, beige, and oddly drained of joy. And in that contrast, Catherine's radiance against Meghan's stillness, viewers said they felt like they were watching two completely different interpretations of Christmas. One glowing, one dimming. Reactions erupted instantly. People began sharing split-screen comparisons. Catherine surrounded by community, families in winter coats, the royal children buzzing with anticipation. And then, Meghan, arranging candles and stockings in a quiet room that many joked resembled a pair of socks someone just took off, according to online discussions. Safe phrasing aside, the contrast wasn't subtle, it was cinematic. The sort of divergence that doesn't need explanation because the images speak. But beneath the stockings and candlelight lay something deeper. A cultural tension that has followed these two women for years. They aren't just presenting holiday content. They are presenting worldviews. Catherine's, described as grounded in tradition and public service. Meghan's, interpreted by critics as curated, commercial, and emotionally detached. Neither woman spoke a word, yet both became central to December conversations. What caught people off guard wasn't the rivalry, it was the timing. Meghan's December 3rd release landed days before Catherine's Christmas special. A coincidence? Perhaps. But it made every comparison louder. And in that rising noise, a quieter truth emerged. Viewers weren't arguing about decor. They were trying to understand how two women with access to the same spotlight created such opposing emotional worlds. By week's end, people weren't talking about Christmas anymore. They were talking about symbolism, storytelling, and the silent tug-of-war unfolding through two videos posted oceans apart. Every December, people expect royal holiday visuals to feel a certain way. Frosted lights, cathedral echoes, bundled children gripping their parents' hands. Catherine delivered exactly that. According to commentators, her Christmas Carol event promised connection. Families gathering, choirs warming up, A-listers arriving quietly at Westminster Abbey, and cameras capturing that honeyed glow against ancient stone. Meanwhile, across the ocean, Meghan unfolded a completely different December. Her promo, as many viewers described, looked like a still-life painting. Slow piano, washed beige tones, candles arranged so meticulously they barely felt touched. As reports suggested, what was meant to feel serene ended up landing with an unexpected emotional chill. Instead of warmth, people saw distance. Instead of joy, restraint, instead of magic, an atmosphere some interpreted as detached. The difference wasn't in color, it was in the presence of life. Catherine's clips showed real moments, children squirming with excitement, William smiling at the sound of carols, guests arriving wrapped in scarves. Meghan's showed a solitary figure, assembling gifts in silence. Online discussions replayed Meghan's earlier anecdote about greeting guests barefoot. Viewers wondered if the beige stockings were part of that specific aesthetic. Others replayed Catherine's past piano performance, pointing out the spontaneity that defines her events. According to those familiar with the situation, nobody expected a competition. But once Meghan's promo dropped within days of Catherine's event, comparison became unavoidable. Two women, two visions, two Decembers released almost simultaneously. Catherine centered her theme on love in all forms, choirs, families, community heroes. Meghan's visuals centered on controlled calm, minimalism, and personal space. One felt communal. One felt curated. By the end of the weekend, the audience wasn't reacting to content anymore. They were reacting to emotion, and specifically, the lack of it. Across the UK, Christmas doesn't truly begin until the first images of Westminster Abbey fill television screens. Tall candles, soft choral harmonies, winter breath floating in the air. And at the center stands Princess Catherine, steady, luminous, anchored in sincerity. According to people who've attended previous years, her Christmas carol service has quietly become a holiday tradition, like the first hot chocolate of the season. This year, excitement began early. As reports suggested, rehearsals were buzzing, crews stringing lights, musicians testing acoustics under the vaulted ceilings, volunteers decorating wreaths in the crisp December air. Everything, every ribbon, every candle, seemed to hum with anticipation. But what sets Catherine's event apart, according to royal commentators, is her intention. She chooses themes with purpose. She invites performers with meaning. And this year, she honored a woman many younger viewers barely recognized, the Duchess of Kent, a quiet figure whose influence was profound. Some described it as Catherine preserving a memory the world might have forgotten. The Duchess of Kent spent decades serving without seeking attention, teaching music, championing young performers, supporting charities with humility. Her organization, Future Talent, was invited to perform this year. Commentators called it a quiet but powerful homage. Inside the Abbey, every camera shot felt layered with meaning. Those warm cranberry tones returned, creating a sense of unity among the royal family. Children arrived in oversized coats. Prince Louis, as always, added an unpredictable spark that viewers adore. There was no beige, no monotone, just a living, breathing celebration of togetherness. Catherine moved through the space with ease, greeting performers, exchanging soft laughter, embodying the calm assurance of someone who understands the emotional weight of her role. In the glow of candlelight and the rise of choirs, it became clear why this annual event resonates. It isn't about spectacle, it's about belonging. While Westminster Abbey filled with choirs and candlelit wonder, Meghan Markle released a holiday promo that immediately stirred debate. Not because it was controversial, but because it felt strangely hollow. According to commentary online, the visuals were stark. Muted piano, dim lighting, beige everything. The room felt still, almost untouched. Meghan arranged gifts with slow, deliberate movements that some viewers interpreted as emotionally vacant. And then, the stockings. As some described it, the beige stockings looked less festive and more like the minimalist socks of someone who believes Christmas is a design challenge. People connected them to Meghan's earlier anecdote about greeting guests barefoot to make them feel at home. The jokes practically wrote themselves. But the reaction wasn't about color. It was about the absence of life. No children. No family movement. No sound of wrapping paper or messy laughter. Then came the garden scene. Meghan wandered through her backyard, wrapped in a shawl, collecting apples. According to reports, many viewers felt the scene looked staged pretty, yes, but disconnected from reality. Commentators laughed, saying it resembled a garden no one is allowed to touch. Add the product placement, $64 candles, spice kits, wellness drinks, and the promo began to look less like holiday joy and more like a catalog. If Catherine's Christmas felt like a warm embrace, Meghan's felt like a closed showroom. The contrast grew sharper. Catherine's footage radiated community. Meghan's radiated control. According to online reactions, the takeaway was simple. This wasn't a battle of who did Christmas better. It was a revelation of two emotional worlds. One full. One empty. The internet didn't wait for official commentary. Within hours, both videos were clipped, slowed down, memed, dissected, and transformed into cultural talking points. At first, the reactions were playful. People teased the beige stockings, joked about the Tim Burton minus joy aesthetic, called the decor fabric ghosts of Christmas past. Meanwhile, Catherine's visuals spread for the opposite reason. Screenshots of the royal children holding candles, clips of past performances, captions about families watching together every year. The internet wasn't comparing the women. It was comparing how each woman made them feel. Some viewers interpreted Meghan's promo as cold or isolating. Others saw it as a reflection of her preference for simplicity. A few sympathized, saying she seemed lonely. Safe phrasing aside, one sentiment kept resurfacing. The promo lacked emotional presence. Catherine's footage, on the other hand, sparked warmth even among viewers who usually ignore royal content. The Abbey felt familiar. The children felt relatable. The tribute to the Duchess of Kent added sincerity. Lifestyle bloggers and decor influencers weighed in too. One posted, "One looks like Christmas. One looks like someone trying to avoid Christmas." The louder the conversation grew, the clearer it became. This wasn't about decor. It was about authenticity. By mid-December, Catherine's event was anticipated like a gift. Meghan's promo was treated like a question. What story was she trying to tell, and why did it feel so empty? Long before stockings and promos entered the conversation, another woman quietly shaped the emotional heart of Catherine's event, the Duchess of Kent. She avoided the spotlight for decades. She taught music in ordinary schools. She lived a life drawn more toward service than attention. And, according to accounts, Catherine chose to honor her in the most gentle way by inviting her future talent musicians to perform. In a season obsessed with visibility, Catherine elevated someone who spent her life avoiding it. When the young musicians entered the Abbey for rehearsal, witnesses described the moment as deeply touching. Children clutching oversized instruments, stepping cautiously across centuries-old stone, faces glowing with excitement. Their performance wasn't just music, it was legacy. Meanwhile, Meghan's promo grew more scrutinized for its curated stillness. Catherine's tribute felt alive, rooted in sound, community, and heritage. The contrast wasn't about who won Christmas. It was about who understood the heart of it. By centering her event around the Duchess of Kent's values, humility, service, faith, Catherine grounded the entire broadcast in continuity, in story, in meaning, something that can't be manufactured with candles or beige decor. While Catherine's celebration moved with music and family noise, Meghan built her holiday moment on curated calm, aesthetic control, luxury placement, and according to online commentary, a carefully shaped stillness that felt detached. The promo opened with Meghan arranging gifts like a high-end advert. Her movements deliberate, the lighting subdued, the piano slow enough to resemble a meditation track. Beautiful, yes, but oddly empty. Viewers resurfaced Meghan's barefoot hostess anecdote and the story of setting out mugs the night before so she has less to do. To some, these stories connected seamlessly to the visuals, the beige stockings, the minimalist decor, the museum-like quiet. It wasn't the beige that unsettled people. It was the absence of life. No voices. No motion. Just Meghan and products. Then came the garden scene, arguably the most divisive. Wrapped in a shawl, collecting apples like a character in a soft-focus film. According to reports, it felt staged to many an idealized fantasy of domestic life. Some sympathized, arguing that maybe Meghan finds comfort in quiet holidays. Maybe she prefers minimalism. Maybe she's simply showing the world what peace looks like to her. But even sympathetic voices admitted, it didn't feel alive. Catherine's world looked full children, tradition, community. Meghan's looked curated, beautiful, but empty at the edges. In trying so hard to present serenity, Meghan ended up presenting solitude. Amid all the holiday analysis, another story deepened the contrast. Sophie Winkleman, who married into the royal family, described royal life as a form of torture. Not dramatic, just brutally honest. According to reports, she talked about the relentless scrutiny, the inability to trust, a constant spotlight. It's a permanent goldfish bowl, she said. A life where even groceries become a public event. For Catherine, this is unavoidable. For her children, too. According to those familiar with royal protocol, she and William have spent years building boundaries, releasing photos on their terms, limiting exposure, fostering normalcy where they can. This is where the emotional divide with Meghan becomes sharp. Catherine shields her children from cameras. Meghan often curates controlled glimpses of hers in media projects. One life is obligation. The other is choice. Sophie Winkleman's comments underscored that distinction. Royal life is duty-driven, not brand-driven. Catherine's holiday appearance isn't content, it's responsibility. Meghan's Christmas promo, by contrast, exists entirely on her terms. Her environment, her timing, her aesthetic, and with that freedom comes distance. Catherine's event resonated because it wasn't centered on her. Meghan's felt curated because it was centered entirely on her environment. During a season built on connection, the difference became impossible to ignore. Before beige decor and quiet promos, there was 2018. Meghan's triumphant tour of Australia. According to accounts, it was one of her brightest moments. Crowds adored her, headlines celebrated her. It was the closest she came to global royal stardom. But nostalgia fades. According to recent polling, enthusiasm for the Sussexes in Australia has dropped sharply. So, when reports surfaced of a letter referencing their interest in returning, the internet buzzed. Was it coincidence? Strategy? An attempt to reclaim old magic? Especially since Catherine and William are expected to tour Australia soon. To some, the timing felt familiar, echoing earlier moments when the Sussexes' public moves overlapped royal schedules. To others, it felt like Meghan reaching back toward a place where she once felt universally welcomed. But Australia has changed. Today, Catherine and William are viewed as steady figures tied to tradition. Meghan and Harry are seen fairly or not as unpredictable and PR-driven. A Sussex tour would inevitably carry emotional baggage. And that's the problem. For Catherine and William, Australia represents duty. For Meghan, it represents identity, perhaps even validation. What Meghan sees as opportunity, many see as reinvention. As December deepened, fairy lights glowing across streets and families settling into holiday rituals. The contrast between Catherine and Meghan grew into something larger than decor or content. It became a mirror. Catherine's Christmas service felt like a warm breath in a cold month. Steady, comforting, rooted in tradition. Families shared plans to watch it together. Grandparents said it reminded them of older royal holiday broadcasts. It felt familiar, connected, communal. Meghan's promo stirred quieter emotions. Admiration from some, confusion from others, and a sense of emotional distance noted by many. Beautiful lighting. Beautiful space. But a silence that felt heavy. What struck people most wasn't what Meghan showed, it was what she didn't. No children sneaking candy. No husband passing scissors. No ornaments. No chaos. No sound. Just stillness. And so, an unspoken question began forming. What does Christmas look like when the cameras turn off? For Catherine, the public moments suggest a private world filled with life. 3 children, rehearsals, extended family, obligations tied to centuries of tradition. For Meghan, the public moments suggest a world shaped by choice, controlled, curated, serene, and possibly quieter than viewers expect. 2 women once photographed side by side now seem to live in opposite emotional realities. One defined by connection, the other by curation. And that is why this Christmas comparison resonated so deeply. It wasn't about stockings. It wasn't about decor. It was about the emotional stories each woman told without speaking. Catherine offered a Christmas built on community, legacy, and shared meaning. Meghan offered a Christmas built on personal space and aesthetic control. Both intentional, both valid. But only one felt wide enough to include the people watching. As the year faded and lights dimmed, viewers weren't left debating style. They were left reflecting on something deeply human. The longing for authenticity. The comfort of continuity. The warmth of belonging. And in that quiet, reflective space, one truth stood still. Sometimes the most powerful stories aren't spoken. They're revealed in the places where joy either fills a room or leaves it empty.